And all right, guys, welcome to the Blue Collar Society podcast. Today we have Paul. There you go, that way. Paul from Bucket Saver. So,
What's up,
Going on,
Paul?
Paul?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for coming. So, you can give
I
us a
was
little
kind of
bit
shocked
about
that
yourself.
you actually were coming on.
Yeah, me too. A little bit.
It's like, hey, Bucket Saver is going to be on. I was like, wait, what?
You're like, what?
Yeah. No, it's a great opportunity, and I haven't actually done any publicity. I used to be a big YouTuber back in the day. 10 years ago, I was the most subscribed category for bodyweight fitness, actually, before I went into construction. So if you guys look up Fortress Fitness, I think I still have a remnant of an account. I think I still have like 300,000 people that haven't unsubscribed. So
Wow.
I might be one of them because I follow a bunch of fitness accounts.
So
yeah,
you monetized?
I mean, that was 10 years ago. That's when I decided I was going to go into construction, and I kind of let that just fall by the wayside.
What'd you say that was called? Fortress Fitness?
Yeah, I got
Fortress
it written down
Fitness. Here. Yeah.
Now I gotta look it up.
Yeah. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, where you're at. How'd you come up with this product? You know, what's the story behind you and the story behind Bucket Saver?
Okay, so behind me, I started doing fitness when I was 16. I really enjoyed it. I started putting up some videos of how good I was. I used to be a bodybuilder. If you guys look up pictures of me back in the day, you'll see I was in a very good shape. Back then, I started putting YouTube videos just of things I'm capable of doing, and a lot of people started following up in the comments like, hey, can you teach me to do this or that? I started doing tutorial videos. The channel grew. At some point, I did a U.S. tour, coast to coast, California to New York and back, meeting people like different states. And I did some self-analysis because I was getting kind of tired with YouTube and was posting videos and stuff. And I realized I really like working hands-on. That's what I liked about fitness, is the hands-on aspect of all the exercises I was doing, hanging out, doing that. And then with fitness instruction videos, that wasn't hands-on at all. That was like sitting behind a computer doing video all day. And so I realized that wasn't my passion, and hands-on is my passion. So I was going to decide between doing mechanics, being a mechanic, going into construction, or doing farming. Obviously, there's like engineering, robotics, other things that I didn't consider at the time at all. I've considered it now. But I chose construction, went into construction, been here for 10 years, started with doing fences, then went to kitchens, then kitchens and bathrooms, then full house remodels and additions. And that was kind of my experience. And 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago that the idea originated for me, that I was like, okay, I was hiring people, and my apprentices, they were really bad at cleaning up and giving off a good impression. Sometimes, like I've had 2 times after I clearly said, wash your bucket in the grass, and I went washed it in the driveway, and I had this like thin set stain all through my driveway.
Like
I
coming
really have to fix this. I had to bring a pressure washer, wash the whole driveway down, and run it down all the way to where it goes into the river. And I was like, man, this is like bad. I gotta fix this. And then the other thing I've had them do is So I had several problems that the Bucket Saver was going to solve. The other one is they would leave the concrete to dry inside the bucket. I would have to buy a new bucket, and I would have to do a separate trip to the store to buy the bucket. And I was like, oh, this is such a waste of time and effort. And sometimes I would have to send them and then pay them hourly to go to Home Depot to buy a bucket. And I was like, I just spent $20, $40 for this trip to buy the bucket, and the cost of the bucket isn't even, it's $5 for the bucket, but then paying them for labor and everything, all the overhead. I was like, this is ridiculous.
So I got to replace the bucket that you didn't clean.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember there was a similar product in Australia a long time ago. It was called Bucket Glove, and they still sell it. And so I looked it up, and I was like, okay, I got to buy this Bucket Glove. And so there's 2 problems with the Bucket Glove. First, it was very thin. A lot of the reviews said that it would rip when someone was using a metal mixer. It had a tendency to rip because of how thin it was. Second of all, it didn't fit the American buckets because they use the metric system for their buckets. We use gallons. So that was the second problem. And the third is I could not find for the life of me anyone who would ship it here. I tried eBay, I tried different websites. Nobody ships it to the US. It's Australia only. And so I was like, man, this is really bad. And I've had some experience coordinating with China to buy stuff from China before that was custom made for like, I just paid an exorbitant amount to like factories that manufacture stuff. And I was like, let me see how much, if I can make my own. And so I found a factory. I reached out to a lot, maybe like 20 different factories, until I found one that was able to produce this for me. I made AutoCAD drawings of the product and what I wanted to look like. I sent it to them. We had a little back and forth. I basically collected a bunch of buckets and made a dimension that would fit any of them. So I picked the smallest width and the smallest, the biggest depth, and that's the one I made. And so anything else, my bucket would fit. Made that. We had our first prototype made. After the prototype was made, I was like, okay, I'm missing a couple things on here. I'm missing measurement markings on the inside, because when I'm pouring stuff in, I don't know how much water did I put, how much cement did I put, because I'm like a very analytical person. I like to be like precise. And so I calculated exactly the positions and how far away from the bottom they are, because it's conical shape, not a straight cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to a friend of mine. She actually works for the company that does text to speech, Cortana, the Android text to speech, the Google. They all basically use them as a third party. She works for them. And I was like, can you give me the formula to figure out the volume? She's like, sure, here it is.
Yeah, wow.
I think it was nothing too, probably.
Yeah, like it's nothing. She just wrote me this like big formula. And I mean, it's like the bottom, the basically the formula for the bottom cylinder and then the top cylinder, and then divided by 2 because it's continuous. It doesn't like jag, right? So it's just the top, and so it's half of one, half of the other, divided by 2. Anyway, so we got that figured out, markings and
Yeah, thanks.
And I liked the product in and out. We embedded our logo in it, and I was like, this is a real cool product. We started using it. So I really made this product as a solution to my problem that I was having with my apprentices. Not cleaning buckets, sending them on trips to Home Depot, Lowe's, any Ace Hardware to buy buckets during the job when they would forget something and it gets ruined. And I was like, well, we still need a bucket or two to do this job. And then creating a much better impression with the customers, because I don't have to leave residue of concrete or thin set or grout in the driveways anymore, or in the grass itself, because they're not even cleaning outside anymore. They just wipe the sides down with a paper towel, drop it in, let it dry, put it inside out into a trash bin. They got a new bucket, basically. So it solved the problems that I was experiencing that I wasn't able to purchase from the Bucket Glove. And that one I saw a commercial for like years ago. I think I saw it on like Shark Tank or something. Don't quote me on it, but it did just randomly show up. And so I was trying to buy it. I couldn't. Ended up making my own product, and we launched it, and everyone liked it. Isaac, funny thing enough, I lived in Sacramento, California. Isaac Ostrom was the first person to advertise my product. And I was visiting my parents there in Sacramento, and I reached out to Isaac. I was like, hey man, where do you live? I want to bring some gifts for you. And he's like, oh, I'm right here. And I look it up. It's like 20 minutes away from me. I was like, oh, I'm on my way. So I didn't even have to fly out, especially for him. And he's like one of the most subscribed channels for Thailand. So I go to him and I gave it to him. And I was like, try these out, see if they work. If you like them, make a video. If you don't like them, tell me what you don't like, and I'll make it better. And he at the time made a video with who's now my competitor, is another company. And so he's like, I'll put both of them out, and we'll see which one's better, and whatever, I'll make a video. I was like, thanks, man. And so we did that. And I talked to him a couple months ago. I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago. And I was like, hey, those buckets I left you, because I gave one for every single one of his crews. How are they holding up? And he's like, we're still using them. They're still good as new. Not a single rip, not a single tear, not a single scratch on them. They good as new. It's been 2.5 years now. So I was like, good. That means the product's working. So that's kind of the gist of my life and how the Bucket Saver started, where it got where it is now.
Pretty cool damn story, man.
Yeah.
Any plans for a 3.5 one?
Yeah, actually, we are planning to hopefully launch in Europe as well, because we have had a lot of requests from people filming Germany, Italy, write us and like, hey, we want one too. And the 3.5 gallon, since the day we launched, people have been asking for it. So there's definitely that in the workings. Right now, we actually sold out. Like we have what is it called? Suffering from success. We sold out all our buckets and inventory, and so right now, unfortunately, if you go on the website, we're sold out. But we are ordering more, as everything is just going on back order. But yeah, the sales went up way quicker and way faster than we imagined, and so because of that, we sold out quickly all the inventory we had, and so we just bought more. So we're waiting for all that to come in so that we can start fulfilling.
Damn, I was gonna ask for one, man.
Yeah.
I just put it. I just put in my order too. That's how I know about the back order.
Yeah. Sorry about
I saw
that.
on the-
No, that's okay. Listen,
I
good
saw
thing.
on the
If it's like
website
that,
because
it's
I
a
had to
good
grab
thing.
the color code for the
The
badges.
more the more pre-orders I do get, the more inventory we can put on back order too. Like ever since I started the business, pretty much all the money has been going back into it because it profits everything. Once we sell out, we just take that big chunk and we just buy double the inventory again. We sell out, we use the whole thing to buy back the inventory again, which is why I'm still working in construction because I can't really reap the benefits yet because it's all just going back into inventory because we're constantly doubling our sales. So
Man,
anyone who's placing
That's a
pre-orders,
good problem to have.
yeah, it's a good problem to have for sure. So whoever's placing orders for pre-sales, we appreciate it. You are supporting the vision and plan behind it, and it's going right back into ordering more for more people, so we can service more people.
Yeah.
How long have you been in business with the Bucket Saver?
I believe 2.5 or 3 years. It kind of all blends into each other. So I believe December of 2000, either 19 or no, it was December of either 2020 or 2021 that Isaac made the first video, and that was our first open door to the market, and that's when we started the product. Also, I'm part of my team. I work with Israel. I wanted to mention him because everyone who's going to be reaching out regarding emails, being out of stock, all this other stuff, he's going to be the one responding to you. He's responsible for fulfillment, communications with the factory and back, all that stuff. So most of you guys may have already touched base with him or will hear from him. If you're talking to the website, I'm pretty back from the business because I am working in construction. And so this is something we launched, and Israel kind of runs that whole thing. So if his name does pop up, he is with me, and he works
Morales?
the pivotal.
Chat.
Yeah.
He's in
Shout
the
out.
chat.
How many?
He's the one that set up this podcast, actually. So if it wasn't for him, I
Oh,
would
nice.
have seen it. So
How
shout
many
out.
guys
Blue
do you have
collar
for your
who?
operation?
I have currently 4 people. So I have him. I have a place in Sacramento, California, because our shipments used to come into the San Francisco port, and I had a person there that would pick them up and distribute them out, and that was a 2-person operation. And then Israel does everything online, marketing and like public relations, whatever, like setting up podcasts, all this stuff, and dealing with inventory, communications with manufacturing. I'm kind of the founder, owner, but I'm not heavily involved. I have ideas for new things all the time. Like I'm a very much a tinkerer. I have so many other products I have on the back of my mind that we're gonna end up creating too, besides the bucket and just like for tiling tools that don't exist yet that would be amazing to have. And I think people like I have this theory that like the ideas are out there and someone's just gonna grab it and make it. And if I don't make it in time, somebody else will. But I do have a lot of like various ideas of things we want to produce later on down the road too.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
So earlier you mentioned the competitor.
Yeah.
I want to ask this question. Did this?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure. I think we all kind of know who this competitor is.
Yes.
Did that have anything to do with your idea going into making it, or did you ever come across it, or did you already have your product out there?
I've heard of it. I've never touched it ever before. Like even with Isaac, I was like, "Hey, do you have his product? I want to check it out." I've heard of it. I've never like actually seen it or felt it, except for videos here and there sometimes pop up. And he's like, "No, all of ours are on site." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I never actually felt his product. In like I've heard of it, and I believe I reached out to him at some point, and he was like, "They are whatever the price was at the time, $120." And I was like, that's too expensive. Let me see if I can make them in China. That conversation may have happened when I was researching, because my main inspiration was a bucket glove. And so that's the one I was trying to get because I like the advertising for it. And then in the process, I was searching bucket liners and all this stuff. And I came across them, but I never ended up getting my hands on one of them. So I produced mine without ever having that as a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where
Donnie,
I was.
you'd make a good journalist, Donnie. But
yeah.
listen,
Israel
let's not,
talked to him. So I'll give you that. Israel did talk to him more than once, especially after we started launching. Israel had some communications with him. He told me he was talking to him. Although Israel 100% represents our company, I don't know what those conversations entail, so I can't comment on them at all. Like, he just said, "Hey, I'm talking to our competitor, so and so," and I was like, "Oh, cool. Is it going well?" He's like, "Sometimes."
Hey, they know
So,
us.
I didn't read the conversations, and I was like, "Okay, cool. Just don't
So-
just be on good terms with everybody. Like, we're not trying to cause any trouble."
It's like, is it going
Yeah.
good? It's like, well, he said your name wrong, but that's a weird way to pronounce your name. But
Yeah.
so we can
hey,
actually.
well, let's. I'm sorry, but I would say let's talk about that product when we have him on the podcast another time.
Yeah.
But
Well,
let's
I'd
change
love
gears
to.
here.
Well,
And before we
gonna-
have them, I would love to actually have a sample so I can compare them. I
Yeah.
have heard that it's thicker material.
yes.
And Isaac personally told me, he's like, I actually like the fact that yours is thinner because it's easier to. Well, he didn't say for himself. He said my
Easier
guy
to invert.
told me that it's easier to flip inside out, and they
Yep.
like that.
Me and Omar have had this. So Omar has both, right? I've only used your product,
Yeah.
and it's mainly like the price thing. No, getting into it, right? The biggest selling, like, oh, it's thicker, it's more durable. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, but I'm not gonna be like, dragging it behind my truck. So I
Right.
got that one, and then I finally, when I went up to do a collaboration with Omar, I got to use the other liner, and I'll have to say I like that it is thinner. I can flip it inside out. Being able to get that little biscuit out and maneuver it so much easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to clean because I can take it and roll it.
Yeah.
The edge, I like that it's flat. I think Omar had a similar comment
Yeah,
about
the
it.
flat brim is
Yeah,
Oh,
the
one thing I do
overlap
wanna
on the rim
mention.
is nice.
Thank you. That was almost an accident because our molds are made on a CNC machine in metal. That's how we make them, and it's so much easier to make a flat ridge. That was completely
I'm
unintentional.
assuming it's
I
an
brought-
injection mold.
Say what?
Is it an injection mold? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
injection mold. This
Yeah, it
is a
has to be.
silicone injection product. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
One thing I wanted to
that's-
mention: the 5-gallon bucket, you can actually put it inside of a 3.5 gallon, and you can roll the sides over, and it fits
Oh.
perfectly. So the
Okay.
5-gallon bucket is versatile with a 3.5 gallon and fits perfectly if you just set it inside and roll the sides over the bucket sides, and it fits perfectly. I have seen videos our guys using that, and I was like, why didn't I think of that? Like,
I designed it like that. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nice too
Yeah.
because all the dimensions work out with it as well.
say again?
Yeah.
I said it's nice because all the dimensions work out well for that.
Yeah, they do. And so those who
Totally
are
intentional.
3.5 gallon, it's versatile for both. You can use it for both.
So I guess I'm gonna just kind of pull some feedback from Nathan. That's a Vision Stone and Tile. Is it Vision Stone and Tile or Vision Tile?
Vision Stone and Tile.
It is Vision Stone and Tile.
Oh,
He says
Nathan Merrill.
kind of his feedback on it is to
Get
get rid of the
measurements.
measurement markings. He said they aren't very visible and they catch trials. I will say though, when I'm like scraping the bucket out, I do
Yeah.
get the same thing. I can see the numbers, but it's just a little bit more cleaning. But I can definitely see where that just throwing that out there. I mean, we're all
Very good feedback. Thank you. Yeah, we will. That's the first time I hear about it catching on the numbers. So yeah, that's very good
Maybe-
feedback.
Are the numbers raised? Are they
I was
raised?
gonna say,
they're recessed.
No, they're indented. They're not.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
they're
okay.
what is it, embossed or
I just said recessed.
Yeah.
Engraved.
recent.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they're.
Well, I mean,
engraved.
listen.
Yeah.
You're dealing
I mean,
with
what other
five
option do you
balls.
have? They're either recessed or you can pop them out. What
the
I don't know if
reason
you.
Yeah, I mean it's a minor thing, and it's like there's not really much to complain about with
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
there's
Jesus
and
Christ,
feed
man!
that
There's
up.
markings on it. Be happy that there's markings on the goddamn
I can't read, Harry.
You don't have to guess.
You know
I
that Louis
can't read,
C.K.
Harry.
joke?
I don't
Like you're on
know
a
what
you're
they
on
mean.
a Louis C.K. makes a joke about flying an airplane. He's like, you're sitting on a seat in the sky. He's like, but it doesn't.
Oh my God. There's a good whole comedy bit about that, man. It's that's funny as hell.
Yeah, there's a lot of build up to it, but that's the what is it?
Yeah.
Punchline is like seat in the sky, but it doesn't go back enough.
And you said 2.5 years you've been in business, roughly?
With Bucket Saver, yeah. I've been in construction for 10 years now. I
Okay.
started in 2014.
Okay, so as far as like the Bucket Saver side of things, in about 2.5 years, do you know roughly or do you feel comfortable with sharing the amount of units you sold in that time frame?
You mother! I was gonna say I watch a lot of Shark Tank, and that's the same question I had, man.
I can tell you last year we sold approximately 1,516 units.
Okay.
Yeah. And this year we sold the same amount in just the first quarter.
Yeah.
So we quadrupled since last year. And the very, very first year that I launched, we sold
One.
It's like we sold a dozen and I was
sold
6 of them.
110. Yeah. Very first year I launched, we sold 110. Second year, 1,500. And then third year now, 1,500 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, it's coming up.
Now, how much? Well, the first thing too is the measurement thing on the buckets. You're dealing with towel guys who measure their water via sponges. So,
Hey, hi.
I
Oh, using sponges. Yeah. They do measure water using
they
sponges.
squeeze. Yeah, they squeeze a sponge.
One
It's
sponge,
sponges
Two
squeeze.
sponges. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
That's one. And two is was there ever a point when you started this business that you were like, oh my God, this isn't going to work?
When I started, no. So I'm very technically inclined and like very analytical. So starting it in all the logistics, like the less factors I have in play, the more confident I am. The more we grow and expand, the more difficult it becomes. Like I'm very bad at long, like I have a vision and I see the final product, but I don't see all the details in between. I'm kind of always in crisis control, trying to figure things out as they happen. And so because I lack vision, someone like Israel, I need someone basically in my company, and I have the same thing in my construction company. It's like I'm very good at crisis control. I'm very good at solving problems quickly as they come up. And I'm very good at making things happen and like the technical aspect of things. When it comes to like having a long-term vision and kind of overseeing the whole process and seeing where biggest pitfalls and all this stuff, that takes me always by surprise, and I'm always blindsided. So I have very bad long-term vision thinking. I just see the finished product and then I see what's happening now, and everything in between is just a big black gap for me. And so when we start growing, it kind of outgrows my abilities to deal with stuff as it comes up. And so that's where I need to hire somebody, where Israel's been very instrumental in helping me run this whole operation. But just the way that I function, that's basically where my weak point is. And so now that we've started growing and we now sell on Amazon, we sell on, I think we just temporarily shut it down on Amazon because of the stock, and they require stock up front. Because of the Amazon situation, because when we start expanding to Amazon and then Amazon Canada, and then now we're going to be going to Amazon Europe, that's where I started getting nervous. I'm like, I cannot handle all this, and I need to somebody to handle this for me. And so in the beginning, I was like, okay, I can do this, right? When we sold 110, that's easy. But after that, and it was always like a fun side project. So mainly again, I made the product for me. Like I needed this. My company needed this. And so the whole sales to other people just kind of came as a plus. And I was like, if it sells, it sells. Doesn't sell, doesn't sell. But I think the product is so good, it'll sell itself. Like people, once one person uses it, they're going to tell their friends about it, and it's just going to take off on its own. which I counted on. But again, it wasn't. I never relied on Bucket Saver income as my income. It's been reinvested into inventory all the time, so it wasn't something I did to, you know, make myself financially free. There's always that hope, but if it failed, I would have been like, well, I did my best, you know.
Yeah.
At least my guys now have this product, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
kind of
Well, I mean, the reason I asked that is because I think the majority of like products start like this, where it's like,
Yeah.
I have an issue with a problem, let me fix it, and then
Yeah.
they're like, oh look, somebody wants to buy it. Here you
It's
go.
like, oh,
And
I've
then-
got more problems now.
And then
I just
and then
created
all
a
of
bigger
sudden it's
problem.
like, yeah, you just created a bigger problem because now you're 1,000 units in, and you're like, okay,
I
what do
only
I
have
do
5.
next?
exactly that's
Which-
where I'm at. Yeah.
Which I think every construction business owner starts off with the vision. You have the long-term vision, like you said. This is
Yeah.
what I see myself doing.
Yeah.
But then as you're going, you're like, okay, you start out, 1 job a year, 2 jobs a year, then it's 15. Now I'm booked out 6 months. Now I'm booked out a year. You're like, okay, I
Yeah.
need somebody to help me because I can do this. I'm good at doing this, but I need somebody to offset me with something else that I can't take care of, which is basically what you just said.
Exactly.
And no, I only asked that because like we had FlowFX on the Chase on the podcast, and he was like, he put all this money into his mold, and was like, if this mold fails, we're packing up shop and we're done.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
I
thankfully,
had
it wasn't the same.
actually a buddy investor come into this with me, and I've worked. I've worked with him before, and he's invested with me before in other projects I've done on the side, and they didn't really pay off. We just broke even on them, and so I reached out to him again. And I was like, I have this idea. Here's what I think it'll do, and he's like, that's a very good idea. I'll invest with you. I called like 10 people that I know that have money, so it wasn't my money, and I was determined to at least make back his money and pay him back. But as far as like it going bigger, I'm like, at the end of the day, I'll be satisfied the fact that I was able to produce a product of my own
Yeah.
that I can call my own. And so
Well,
that's as far as that went.
Yeah, one thing I would encourage if you watch our podcast with Chase is use the term that I like a lot. He's a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right, that's his thing. He wants to make stuff. He's just, I don't know. I think he's a guy that likes to stay busy. New innovative things, something that entertains him. He already mentioned FlowFX right now is his baby. He's really invested into it. But if another product comes that really entertains him, because at the end of the day, you got to love what you do. Who knows? He might jump over to that. So I mean, it's
well, I kind of am the same way. Like I said, like I have other things running right now other than Bucket Saver. I don't really want to talk about them much. Weird. Like there's another product that. Yeah, we do. I do have the same.
What was that? What are we making?
We do.
I'll invest with you. I got $5.
But it's one of those things. It's like you have to sacrifice the others to make one succeed.
Mhm.
And I've learned that lesson. One guy I love listening to for business. His name is Alex Hormozy. You guys
That's
may have
Omar's-
heard of him. He's been
That's Omar's boy right there.
yeah,
Yes,
all my
serial.
entrepreneur comes from.
Yes,
exactly. That's like the what is it called?
It's free game.
Quintessential
Sure.
entrepreneur. Yeah, him. He says that a lot. He's like, you got to sacrifice the others. Just focus on one thing. He says that like there's a message. He that throws that message out there a lot, and it comes with maturity too. After you've seen like 10 things fail, you're like, okay, if I just focused on one, it would succeed. And so right now I realize that. And same thing when you're like looking for funding or investors, the moment you mention you have something else, they will not invest with you. They're like, oh, this guy's just gonna take my money, open
Jump
something
ship.
else up,
Yeah.
run away, and they see you automatically as a very insecure asset or a very insecure vehicle for the money. And so and they're right. Like it's true, if you're not focused on one thing. So you definitely have to do a lot of sacrificing of everything else until this one thing succeeds, and it's going to take all my energy. So
Okay.
for sure.
And
He's that's what he always says, and like that's also kind of like where a lot of this podcast started was through Armanzi.
Perfect.
Because a lot of this, he was like, go just focus in this one thing, do the things that you don't like. I listened to that guy too much. And
Me too.
And then I said one day, I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. What's the worst that can happen? Somebody's gonna laugh at us. You know what I mean?
right.
And they still do. We got one solid viewer probably right about now. And who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But his podcast too. I mean, he said it's like 5 years before it even became a thing. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. So that's why we're doing this now to follow that lead.
Nice,
So,
nice.
okay, cool.
Good for you. Yeah. I've been asked several times, like, if I were to start a podcast, and I always feel like ever since Joe Rogan, it's like, that's the one I
Yeah.
look at. And it's like, after
Yeah,
him,
that's
everyone started popping
he's
up.
he's like the standard. Like if you can't get Joe Rogan status, then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have
And
to-
so that was always discouraging to me. But at the same time, I don't know of any construction podcast. So I think you have a little niche cut out for yourself. Because, yeah, I don't know any construction podcast.
Yeah, we definitely got something good going here.
It's perfect.
And that's
Well,
the other
I
thing
mean,
too, because
apart from you guys, yeah. So this might be like a very good blue collar society. Yeah, it might really work out well.
Yeah.
yeah,
Where
'cause,
people
I mean,
run into problems. Or say where
Yeah, 'cause-
people underestimate us. There's 4 of us, so we collectively have 4 brain cells constantly rubbing, and we make some magic stuff happen. So
Nice.
most
Yeah, I mean,
people, it's
that's-
like 2 or 3 people, you know.
Which,
Yeah.
ironically enough,
Yeah.
you know, the podcast is also too because we would make Discord calls of all
Oh,
of
yeah.
us every night. We were always talking. We're like, well, why don't we just put this on video?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Plus, we can
capitalize on
rewatch it.
rating this thing.
I was just
Yeah.
having that thought back in my mind when you were talking about it. I'm like, man, I remember when we all had that conversation. That was crazy.
Yeah, I was like, let's do a podcast. We came up with the logo. I mean, now how to do things with businesses nowadays is kind of crazy and how easy it is.
Oh yeah.
You know, like the logo took me not even like I think 5 or 10 minutes to make the logo. It was free on CapCut. It's like, oh look, we
I thought
got
Jeremiah made the logo.
No, I didn't. Know.
that was
Omar
me.
made it.
Oh shit!
IT guy.
Fun fact.
I did the logo. I did the countdown on the intro, all that stuff I found on
Yeah.
CapCut. It was pretty cool. But yeah, no, I mean and I also wanted to do this to connect with other trades, not just like tiling, for example, because that's the majority of what we do. But you know, we try to have a lot of people, especially innovators, because it's good to connect and hear the stories like, oh, you had an issue, you wanted to fix it, and it just so happens that you turn out to be having something bigger. You know what I mean? So this
And it
is an
brings
outlet so
products
people
to
can see
life.
it.
Right,
exactly.
hopefully bringing stuff because I've talked with a lot of tile guys in my area, and even when I go to Best Tile, I go there all the time. People know me there, and I tell them about the bucket saver and everything. They're like, it does what? I was like, yeah, man, you just wash it, flip it, and then it's done. And because they know me, I come in, I need a bucket because at the end of the day, it's hot. I take that bucket, it gets donated to the cause. I'm like, I buy another one. I ain't cleaning that bucket out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
And then even the tile guys there, they don't know much of it. And I was like, dude, get it. And then I'm assuming you primarily target tile setters with this product.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few other applications for it. So it's BPA free and food grade. The silicone is.
Oh,
So it can
Ice
be
cream.
food, ice cream, whatever kind. Yeah. So it doesn't leak chemicals like plastic does.
okay. That's good
So
to
it
know,
is 100%
actually.
food safe. Like they make silicone molds for donuts and cookies and stuff that you
Yeah.
can put in the oven at 300 something degrees. So it's very heat resistant. I don't target those markets, but it's there. It's also epoxy. Epoxy is also nonstick with it. So if you're trying to mix
Oh.
epoxy, 2-part epoxy, you can use the bucket saver. It will not stick to the sides of it either.
Oh,
That's good to
nice.
know because I was
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah.
getting into that. Just
Yeah,
like a little
so
quick
it's
thing.
perfect.
And drywall guys. I've told a couple drywall guys about it, and I know a guy that's a brick mason, and I showed him that thing, and he's like, he's probably gonna go through it faster, but it's better than
Oh,
going
it's
to a
cool.
bucket
Brace it,
faster.
Yeah, please
But,
tell me you have an affiliate link for us and getting paid for all these references. No,
Oh no, I didn't do this out affiliate.
we have affiliate links, and I think you get paid 10% from each one that people buy through your link. You could just send it to them on the text, like, "Hey, just purchase from here."
Where's Israel?
Omar's like, I've been
Where's
purchasing
that
this
at?
product and not getting paid. No,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean,
Does that
I
mean like, "Hey, you're getting paid"? Like,
no, it's just like I like
you're
to
getting
advertise.
paid. I
No,
kind of
man,
just
that's
caught
a
on
great
to that.
idea.
You can't get the affiliate link unless you purchase the item though.
No, but I mean, like, I like to, you know, with Jeremiah, we try to, how do you call that? All the products that we use, we try to optimize. You know what I mean? Whether it's like waterproofing, whether it's any kind of material, we want to optimize it so you're not wasting So
Right.
I found that the bucket saver, you know what I mean, or any kind of bucket liner. At first, you're like the price kind of hits you. You're like, that's
Yeah.
a lot of money up front, and also you're like, you're trying to break the old habit, you know, because everybody's so used to like, hey, it's Friday, ooh, into the garbage it goes. But if you do the math and the numbers on it, if you're going to be in business for X amount of years, you start doing that. That's a lot of buckets because you're more than likely going to have to spend 15, 20 minutes banging into a bucket at the start of your day just to get it to like somewhat a usable state.
That's if you
If you
don't
don't
break
use
it.
a liner,
That's if you don't break it.
Omar's
Yeah.
been on that call. Brand new bucket. Tunk, tunk.
Yeah, no,
Fuck.
it's just.
And he's like on the
so
phone.
then-
He's like, "You broke the bucket, didn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
have to go drive to the
Yeah.
store."
and that's when I was like, get the bucket saver.
I actually
Which
haven't
took
built
a little-
any buckets, but I hear like that is an actual issue. Like buckets breaking.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is actual issue.
I've actually
Well-
had the little circle part that's in the very bottom, like middle of the bucket.
Pop
I've,
out.
been-
out.
I've mixed
Yeah.
thinset before and just picked the bucket up and it just falls right out of the bottom of the
Yep.
bucket.
Oof.
So
Mm.
around here, and to the guy that taught me tile, his biggest thing, he's like, "Don't buy Lowe's buckets. Buy Home Depot buckets. They're better." And I was like, they're full of it, right? And I'm mixing in the bucket, and I blew that little cap out on the bottom, and I blow the sides out all the time on the Lowe's buckets. So I was like, all right, orange it is. So
hole in the china shop.
Quick
Yep.
math.
So you
If you say 15 minutes a day, and let's say 15 minutes includes your actual trips to the store to actually pick up the bucket like once a week, twice a week, like to purchase
that's
the
being
bucket.
generous.
But if you're saving 15 minutes a day total between the store trips and cleaning out your bucket per day, and there's 250 work days per year, overall you're spending 62 hours a year on this of your work day.
Jeez.
And so if you can save 60 hours of work per year, then man, I mean, if you're paying a guy for that, even at $15 an hour, and I'm not talking about workers' compensation, insurance, anything else, that's almost $1,000. So buying a $90 bucket versus spending $937 in labor cost alone. I'm not even talking about the material of new buckets. $900 per year saved on labor cost alone. It works out. Yeah, it is a big price tag, but then when you just do basic math on how much time you're saving in terms of paying somebody for labor to do it, and you get back a full-time work week, then
And the price of buckets.
Well,
And
not
the-
even if you're paying somebody to do it, but just for like most of us, well, all of us,
Yeah,
you know, we
we're
work
all single
alone.
installers. Yeah.
Right,
you have
and
to
I
make
mean,
a
but
trip
that
to the
saves you
store, that
60
costs
hours,
time.
you know, per year that you can spend with your family or whatever. You know, like
Well, yeah.
there's a lot
I
of
mean,
things
just
that you do
like,
with 60 hours.
you know, at $5 a bucket, let's say you do one bucket a month, which we all know that's not real, but that's $60.
Yeah,
You know
we've
what I
done
mean?
this
Like,
math.
yeah, we've done this math before, and like it's like you're gonna save regardless. And just the like for instance too, like you said, it doesn't leach or anything. So I showed him how to use well, you've done it before, how to clean your trowels or anything else with acid inside the bucket. Which cleans
Yeah,
the
that's a
bucket
good
too.
thing to mention too. Yeah, muriatic acid is dissolves cement, concrete, any cementitious products. So if you guys do have that, like, or whoever's listening, if you have that cementitious residue on the silicone bucket liner or your bucket or your tools, if you do the proper concentration of muriatic acid, like don't overdo it, because if you inhale it, you will cough for like 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
rotten eggs. And it
is.
smokes too.
It does smell. It's so bad. You can die from that stuff. So
Yeah.
like, not to scare you.
Well, it works great, especially
They
for
use it
grout.
This is not professional advice by any means.
pH level. I think they use it for pools to regulate pH levels. Anyway, so like
Yes.
all the pool guys are using it anyway.
And to
So-
patch concrete for painting and such.
Yeah. So it's very good for cleaning your tools, the bucket saver itself, everything. It cleans it right off. It does not react with silicone at all. There's zero reaction happening between the two. It does not degrade the material, but it completely dissolves the concrete and the cement, which is perfect for a cleaner.
Yeah. And then
And
Omar,
any conditioning that you have to do with it?
No, I actually, when I bought, when I had my first prototypes, I left them out in the sun for a year and a half in direct sunlight, not even in the shade, just to see what would happen. I think the color didn't even fade. Like there was no reaction. They just laid in the sun outside of my place for a year and a half. Like regular rubber, it would have dried out and possibly cracked. because silicone is
Yeah.
synthetic, it doesn't react with the sun in the same way, and it stayed fine. I mean, it's rated for 375 degrees easy in heat
So this-
without.
Huh. That
So
answers
yeah,
my
it
next
doesn't
question.
really.
That was going to be my question: is it UV resistant? That was
Yeah, it is. Well, based on my test of having it in my yard for a year and a half, yes. But otherwise, I haven't done any other tests.
That was
Well,
one
was
thing
you
I
wearing a lab coat?
It wasn't official.
You just discredited me. No lab coat.
Sorry,
So-
I just watched the Joe Rogan podcast a couple days ago, and they were wearing lab coats.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I was listening to that podcast at work.
So, see, at least so what we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to buy another liner and just give it to Jeremiah and let him do the testing because he will leave it in the back in the sun somewhere.
I have one, and actually, no, I did that. So I
See,
what I did. So I had one of
All
these.
right, so
moments
don't
where-
send it to Jeremiah. Send it to me.
Yeah. So here's so I have these moments when I tile, and it's one of those like it's getting done come hell or high water. So I mix up like a big bag of rapid set in that bucket, and I will say though, like I didn't scrape it down or everything. It was I was working and going, and it stuck to the side, and I had to clean it, and I got lazy. So before I actually cleaned it, I just left it in my backyard with like some water and stuff. It was there for like 2 months. I cleaned it after I got back from Omar's, and I came back. It was dried out, and I was like, huh. I don't know if you saw my video on Instagram. I'm the person that kicked it really hard, and it popped up on my head,
I
and
haven't
so
seen it.
it was in the yard. So I was like, oh, it's not. Usually these liners are not supposed to be in the sun because they can get brittle. So I kicked the shit out of it. And I was like, well, it didn't break, so that's good. I just got
It doesn't get brittle, yeah. So that's silicone versus rubber. Rubber would
Mm.
break. Silicone does
Mm.
not. Yeah.
Interesting. That's good. I mean that's also so. As far as like what tools to mix it in there, regular spade paddles work, everything like that.
Everything. We used a metal mixer. One thing I have had that damaged the bucket is if you and this is an apprentice problem in general. If they're mixing with the metal mixer and it's on top speed and then they just shove it in there,
jam it
at
down.
top
Yeah.
speed, that has damaged one of my bucket savers. So when they and it was one of those like big mixers. It wasn't like the small one. It was like the very big one. He ran at full speed and then he just jammed it like into the bottom, and so the bottom of the bucket got scraped up. So that does have the tendency to happen if you do it. But like Isaac Ostrom's guys, they've been using it for over 2 years now, and he told me that there's no scratches on it. So if you just do regular mixing and you don't like force your metal mixer into
Don't
the
be an
silicone,
animal.
you're gonna
Don't treat it like a Lowe's bucket. That's all.
That guy right there.
yeah.
Oh no, if it'll break, I'll figure it out.
He'll find a way. You want to test it? Send it to him. He'll figure it out.
No, but
you
that's
said
really
that-
good to know, because if he's like that, I will send him different products that we make to get testing
Well,
though.
definitely.
Hey,
definitely
that's the
keep
guy
in
to
mind.
send it to.
Man, he's gonna find a completely different use for it. Don't do that.
Yeah, because I'm very, he knows how I am. I'm very meticulous and OCD about my tools.
Yeah.
Everything has a place, everything has a location, so I can tell him exactly where my screwdrivers are without being there. And but yeah, if you want to test it, send it to him. He'll
And
figure it out.
Omar's like, where's your screwdriver? Like in the back of the truck. Where? Somewhere. I know it's back there. Where?
that
In
drives
the
me
back
nuts.
of the truck. The bed
That
or like
drives
the
me
back
nuts.
seat? Yes.
And that's why too, like I said, the bucket saver is that flat edge, because I use the margin of trial a lot,
Yeah.
because that's usually what I use to clean my ridges and everything. But having a square flat edge to clean it off of is better, because eventually you start making your way outside the bucket.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
wiping it, which and also if you use a scoop, because I use the Buddy Tool plastic scoop. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It works wonders with that rubber liner because it will not scratch it, no matter how hard you put in there. And it's plastic, so when it comes to washing time, the thin set just slides right off. It does not cake on there no matter what.
Yeah.
The metal ones, I have to throw them out because eventually it's like a giant chunk of thin set at the end that I'm beating with a hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
I hate that.
Israel's asking us a question. He said, is there any products that you guys use but wish it could be better? For me,
Wait. What was the question? What was the question?
is there any products that we use that we wish could be better? For me, I'm gonna say it's my trowels. I wish I would just throw them on the floor and they would lay the tiles themselves. But you
This
guys
guy.
make one of those. You think I'm playing?
I don't want to say too much, but we did have a new trowel design that, as far as I know, isn't currently on the market. That would it's a completely different design than what is currently out there that we use for trowels. That would be way more easier to store, easier to wash, easier to use. But that's for a later date. But there is a
We'll talk
trowel
about that
design
later.
we talked about with Israel. Yeah.
To reach Israel, you just hit up Bucket Saver on Instagram. That's it.
Yeah, and he's everywhere. So anywhere you reach out to
Okay.
Bucket Saver through any means, you're hitting Israel through email, through
All right.
contact us, through Instagram. That he's the one responding to all that stuff. So yeah.
All right. Well, since he's watching, I will be reaching. I'll be reaching out because I actually do have an idea, and since you like to tinker with stuff, you may have. You mentioned earlier that gap between the vision and how to get there, and I have this idea for. I can't say too much either because we're on YouTube Live. But
I'll drop in the chat here. Is whatever? No, it's a private chat, so nobody's gonna. I'll send you my direct
Hear
email.
me out. I got a robot that will fill my beer up.
Shut up, bro.
It'll get the beer out of the fridge, bring it to me, open
it lights my
pour it in an
cigar.
ice cold pint glass.
Nah, definitely.
No.
Like I said, for me,
It's actually
a bucket saver koozie.
Well, that, but that actually would be cool. But the mixing paddles, I came across one recently. Again, Buddy Tools. They're intended for more thin set wise because they're ABS plastic. So you're not constantly going to the job site and beating it like it's like, the church bell every morning, trying to get the thin set off of it.
That's what he calls it.
The church bell, because you're just going at it.
As soon as he said that, I knew exactly what he was talking about. I just played in my head.
Exactly. So a better mixing paddle that would be compatible with that. Rubberizing an actual paddle, the durability of that, I don't know how that would.
No, rubberized won't be good. I have another question. So you guys have used stainless steel, right?
Yes.
Stainless steel versus regular steel, and so stainless is better. How does stainless compare to ABS? ABS still better? Doesn't stick.
Yes, it doesn't. It actually like so. For instance, I'll use my paddle and then I'll pull it out. There's still thin set on it, but I can go over there like with a trowel and the marginal trowel, and it'll literally just fall off. I wouldn't have to be there scraping it. There's no damage to it.
You guys have used those drywall finally started making them is a stainless steel seamless taping knives.
Yes, DeWalt makes them. I love them.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that for a trowel?
That would be
awesome. That'd be awesome. Because my biggest thing.
That was one of the designs we considered making, but there's another one that's even better. But that was the direction we started. We're like, why don't we make it so ergonomic and washable?
Yeah.
So there's no steam.
I want one of those sets too, man. I've looked at the Amazon Basics one just to try it out, but I haven't pulled the trigger because I don't have any drywall work lined up on that. But yeah, those stainless steel ones look pretty. I mean, they just look pretty dope. But I'm sure they'd probably be. Yeah, exactly.
The cleaning aspect, if there's a way to make them easier to clean. Thus far, the only trowels that I've used that I believe.
Remember the muriatic acid? If you, at the end of the day, like if the whole thing is stainless steel, if you just throw it in a bucket of muriatic acid that's properly mixed, and you just leave it there, and then you just pick it up the next day, everything should fall right off because it dissolves all the bonding agents.
Right. Because I have done that with non-stainless steel. Hell of a.
Oh,
reaction.
good. Yeah, I don't think it should react.
No, it just turned the steel black. Like it was
right, but
black.
stainless.
That's what drywall does
to
steel.
Yeah, regular.
When you need drywall mud. Go ahead. It's not even important what I was about to say.
No, go. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
We know here. No,
I thought I was cutting. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was cutting you off too, but I thought I was cutting Omar off when he was trying to say. All I was getting ready to say is that's what happens with my non stainless steel drywall knives. Whenever I leave them in like a bucket of mud for like I don't even know for how long it may have to be, but they'll end up turning black on you, and then
Like 10
I
minutes,
just
it'll
sand them
rust.
down. Yeah, dude, it's like crazy. I hate those.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Especially
that's,
in
Hey, I
the
just
one-
googled it. Do not use muriatic acid with stainless steel. It breaks
Yeah.
breaks all the properties of stainless steel.
Oh shit!
It's the
But-
same concept for sulfuric acid, and that's what it's a little less aggressive than muric acid.
yeah, it is.
But they still recommend that you don't get it on like finished metal. That being said, for me, I mean, I don't have the fancy frost trials that are easy to clean off, but I'm like, it's a tool. So I sit there with a grinder, grind it off, dip it in the acid, rub it. I mean, it's just
So it goes from a 1/4 inch to a V notch in no time.
yeah.
But no, that's the only trials that I was gonna say that I've encountered recently was Frosh. They send me out a set to test out, and I believe theirs are stainless steel and their grips are pretty nice. But I just like the fact that, like, if you put, for instance, my all-time favorite, All Set. When All Set dries on things, even the liners, it will not come off. It's All Set. I think I
Yeah.
still have some of my skin from earlier, but those trowels, for some reason, as long as you get like the sponge that has the abrasive side, the white side,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you take that and you wipe those trowels, they come out clean. And you
The
use
stainless
my
ones?
trowels. Yeah, the stainless. You
Yeah,
use my
they are
trowels
really
when you're
nice.
here. They're really nice.
Yeah.
And that's the only trials that I've encountered now where like, okay, I'm staying with these because they're just easy to clean. And like you said, no grinder, no church bell in the morning trying to get this thing somewhat working.
What do you mean by easy to clean though? Because I have a set of gold black ones that are stainless steel, and they're
It's the
not
same
like
thing.
they,
It's basically this. It's basically the same thing. If it's essentially just with any trowel, you don't want to let it dry. If it dries, you're gonna scrub it, but it's not as hard to scrub. But generally, like you can take a hose and get some pressure on it, and you can spray the thin set off. A little bit kind of dries and gets crusty. You knock that down. But for the most part,
Okay.
if I'm mixing an extra batch of thin set, I'm cleaning my trowel while I'm there. So when you
Yeah.
get in the habit of that, especially these frost trowels, it pretty much stays good.
Hey,
So-
so
Well, I don't
okay,
know who
your answer-
manufactures the
Oh.
easy to clean too.
come back to me. You broke out. You broke out.
The Guru trowels. I don't know who makes those, or who manufactures them, but those are super easy to clean.
So okay. So what were you saying, Paul?
I'm an experimenter, right? I don't know if I don't like breaking things apart like Jeremiah. But I do experiment with new stuff. One thing I've tried using, I bought Never Wet, right? So once it dries, it's a non-stick, it creates a non-stick surface. And I've used that for installing glue down floors with the glue, because that glue doesn't get off anything once it gets on.
Mm.
And I sprayed it all over my gloves. I put on gloves and I sprayed the Never Wet all over my gloves so that it was like super easy to wipe off. If I was wiping it with a towel, it's not as sticky. But the material used for cooking, the nonstick material, it's PTFE. The idea for that came because they used to coat roofs with it. PTFE was a roof coating material that made it into our kitchens on our cookware. And I think if there was a way to coat the entire surface of a trowel with PTFE, except for the bottom, so that it sticks to the bottom and doesn't just slide on there, but all the rest of it is coated with PTFE, nothing would.
The top side should. The top side,
The,
Yeah.
top side, the handle and the top side should have PTFE coating.
and also the in between the ridges, because
Right.
you don't want, because that's where most of the problem is the buildup on the ridges, that you constantly go in there with a knife and have to carve it all out, because otherwise this 1/4 inch turns into 1/8 over time.
Yeah,
PTFE is pretty awesome product. I used to
Yeah.
work in doing control valves and stuff for different like nuclear plants and stuff. And
Yeah.
a lot of the valves that we worked on, the insides of it, they would use PTFE coils on the inside of it for the ball valve to go up and down, because when you take it apart and replace it, you didn't have to worry about it sticking to everything in there.
Yeah.
Ball valves.
Yeah, it's the most non-stick surface. It's like the most non-reactive surface in the world, as far as we know. Like once we think of a better one, that's gonna be on all our cookware again.
So
Great.
have you tested that, like its nonstick properties for thin set? Because you could, I guess, just like with the ABS one, you can put it on a paddle. And if you do that, do a four prong paddle. I know Omar likes this little 2-winged one, but I don't got time.
The two wing one is because it's the only one that's made out of ABS purely. I found that out because I recently dropped
and it's for drywall.
the corner, and it's for drywall. Actually, no, I spoke to the owner, and he was like, it started for drywall, but you can use it with mortar. Now, the 4 paddle is more of a better mixer for that, I should say, for like mortars and thin sets. But I like it, like I said, just because of the cleaning. I just broke mine because I dropped it, and it's ABS. It's been 9 months, so $25 for one paddle for 9 months. Versus how many have you gone through?
And we also found out that it's solid ABS. It's not like metal that's dipped in ABS.
No, it's
which
all
is surprising. ABS. Which I'm glad I didn't get a hold of that, because I would have grabbed that hammer and been like, cleaning time, and then it would have exploded.
Morning prayer. Here we go.
Oh, so outside of you doing the bucket saver stuff, you said you're still in the construction side of things. What exactly are you doing on the construction side of stuff currently?
Right now I mostly like went to roofing. The richest companies in construction are, for the most part, roofing companies. And the reason, it's insane competition, but the reason why, it's a 1-day install. So you make all your profit margins in 1 day, as opposed to spread over a month of you doing the remodel, or a week of you doing a remodel. Everything is done in 1 day. So you get paid everything else in 1 day. The other thing is the pickiness of the customers goes out the window. You're doing interior, they're looking at all the grout lines, all the what about this, what about that, and sometimes like it's even unreasonable things. Like I'm sure you guys know this, deal with this all the time, where they buy a tile that's like handmade, and so every single tile is different than the other tile, and so you tell them we're gonna have to do bigger grout joints. Like one tile is the thicknesses even varies, between one tile and the other. So it's going to be a finished look. And so at first they're like, no, that's cool. That's what we wanted. And then you install it and they're like, what is this? Why is all this weird? And you're like,
you didn't tell me about this.
It's a natural tile. Like that. Every single tile is different. There's a lot of variance. With roofing, you do it.
Yeah, Goat Tile just did a job like that.
Yeah, did a whole Shafiq from Goat Tile. He did a whole marble floor, and I think it's marble. It's a natural stone, but there's one little tile in this mosaic that it has a vein that doesn't match with the rest of the floor, and he had to cut that piece out and replace it with a one that matched the rest of the floor. But the customer just only did not like that one tile. But
oh no, sorry, I thought you were talking about the tile that was literally the custom tile he got from Mexico or something like that. That was like every piece was different.
Oh yeah, he's the Goat Tile is like, he always finds the handmade jobs. Like he likes the handmade tiles. That's his thing. Like for us, since we're especially me, I'm OCD with things being plumb and level. That would drive me insane.
Yeah.
Because
I can't stand it.
He's like, spent 3 days just moving these tiles in a specific pattern to get it to look like it's level.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's all about illusion.
It's all about the illusion at that point. Yeah, but he's the guy for that.
but okay, so roofing.
Back to
roofing and cabinetry right now is what I'm doing. Cabinetry is because that's what I started with. I started being a carpenter. And when I just joined construction, for the first at least 2-3 years, I did nothing but carpentry, nothing else. Then I went to Lowe's and worked for them for a year, doing all their plumbing and like sink installs, sink hookups. Then I started exchanging valves, so I had plumbing experience. I had electrical experience from high school. I took 3 years of electronics. So I'm like, as far as a house goes, I can like ground up. I know all the trades that go into it. But at the end of the day, I really enjoy carpentry because it started off as a hobby and turned into a business. And I still enjoy it to this day, working with wood and cabinets, installing cabinets. But as far as like the actual like money goes, I really enjoy doing roofing because as far as customer service goes, it's just so much easier. You install it. Occasionally you would have a customer climb a roof and look at everything. But there's nothing to look at. Like shingles are shingles, as long as they're all level and in a straight line, and you did your,
Is it waterproof? That's all it cares about.
Waterproof, right? It's waterproof, and that. Well, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. How long have you been doing roofing?
I actually just started about 3 months ago, and I'm project managing and doing sales, outside sales. So the crew that actually replaces the roof, I'm not on it. This last job I did yesterday, I ended up replacing like a bunch of fascia on the house because it was rotted while the guys were doing the roof. So some carpentry there. So I sometimes step in and do things like that, but otherwise,
Mm.
yeah, that it's
Man,
I'm
I
very
love everything you just said about roofing, man. I freaking hate roofing. Like, I honestly, every time I meet a customer, and they ask me, so what all do you do? Everything except HVAC and roofing. I always put that shit out there. But what you just said, I might have to find some crew out here to do roofing, man. Because man, that sounds like a
Well,
good deal to me.
like
It is.
the reason too, like roofing and plumbing go hand in hand because
Yeah,
plumbing is not something that you're gonna go and look at it outside of a faucet. Anything that happens behind the closed walls, as long as you do it right,
yeah,
it's no artistry behind it unless you're doing a boiler, but that's different. And
Yeah,
the second reason is you definitely need a roof. That's a non-negotiable.
yeah,
And you definitely need plumbing because guess
yeah,
what? Like the guy that taught me plumbing, he's like, if the shit's up to the knees, you're gonna pay,
yeah,
and that's just that.
yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
or you can call somebody else. I'll leave, but
Mhm.
Most of the
you want me
time,
to fix
most of the
this?
time when people have plumbing problems too, they don't want nothing to do with it. They just want somebody to fix it. So
Get it fixed.
just
Yeah.
like
That's it.
just like with roofs, ain't nobody gonna go climbing up on the roof
Yeah.
to see that in comparison to the plumbing. Nobody's gonna be checking, make sure that your pipes are all slanted properly and all that.
And
So
especially if there's a leak, man. Because if there's a leak, anything you can have $1 million house, but if your roof's bad, that $1 million house is just gonna be a four
yeah,
walls and a hole.
I may have to pivot my business now because my father-in-law, you met him. He was a roofer. He used to do roofing all the time. So, but he just kind of like retired. So I'm gonna
I
have
was a
to.
roofer for a week.
I'm gonna have
Yes.
to. I was curious about doing that because, again, like you said, roofing is a 1 to 2 day event. One
yeah,
day demo, 1 day install. It's quick. I did the roof in our house. I did it myself. Well, he was supervising me. He just, start the first row is the hardest part. After that, it's just bang away. Literally just bang away. It's all about speed at that point.
yeah,
Yeah.
If you have 3 guys, 1 passing, 1 lining, 1 nailing, you can get that thing done in less than 8 hours.
yeah.
So, but I'm gonna have to tap onto him and see if we can dust off his tools. Get
Yeah,
it-
honestly, I would do plumbing over roofing any day, but the cost of entry is high because to get your
Yeah,
journeyman
it's
license, you need
huge.
4 years of experience, pass the test, keep all that up to date. There's all these insurances that go into play too with plumbing that are quite high. So the cost of entry is just high. But I think the possibility with plumbing is much better than with roofing because you will
Oh, yeah.
have less competition, first of all.
Mhm.
And then with roofing too, with crews, and this is like the plague of the whole construction industry is it's hard to find good help because most people who go into
Yeah.
construction are those who couldn't go to college for whatever reason or dropped out of high school or have a felony background, and construction usually doesn't do background checks and all this other stuff, and so it
You get a
attracts
tax
like
deduction for felons. Found that out. That's a thing.
I didn't know.
Well,
Now you
So
do.
it's real.
it's definitely harder to find good people who care about quality. And and again, you probably you guys may have had this issue too with apprentices. Is although waterproofing is very straightforward, it seems like obvious and straightforward how water runs and flows and all this stuff. Sometimes it takes a while for apprentices to kind of figure out how that works and how water flows and how waterproofing can be installed improperly. And then they install something, they're like, oh no, it's fine. You're like, no, it's not. This is how it's gonna leak water. You have to redo this.
Like
And
advanced
same thing with
angles and
roofing.
dormers and all that stuff that you guys have, because it gets really
Yeah.
complicated really quick if you've got more than just a standard 412 roof that's on a ranch home.
Yeah, yeah.
that-
So we don't do the framing for the roofing. We're just replacing on existing, but you do need a guy, at least a foreman, who understands how water works and what goes on the top of what, and what goes first, what goes second. There's like ice and water shield that goes on the valleys. There's synthetic that goes everywhere else. how you do your
Mhm.
hips and ridges
The
and all that
valleys.
stuff.
Yeah, the valleys are very tricky. Valleys or any
yeah.
or any corners that may need, those windows that come out of the roof on the
Yeah, dormers.
colonials.
Yeah.
Dormers.
Dormers, yeah.
So you have
Oof.
to have
Since so many
copper
dormers, I hate
shielding.
dormers.
Sometimes you even have to deflect it with copper, so that
Yeah.
it doesn't like create a point where the water's just going to bang in there and it's eventually going to leak. It's just going to push through the siding. Siding is only meant to shed water away. It's not like to waterproof your house.
Then there's us. All right, we're just gonna put a Hydroban all over this and paint it over the top. That's some guru. It ain't stupid if it works. Don't even put shingles on. We're
Remember on the
fine.
roof.
And somehow, people that do bathrooms, and we see our competitors sometimes post stuff, and you're like, it's kind of like a little bit of common sense, like let me put some cement boards up and not cover the cracks, and let me slap tiles. They'll be fine. Water's not going to go in there.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's the same thing for roofing. Like you have to at least get a guy or two who has very good technical mechanical understanding of how water works, and then you're fine. But
Yeah.
you do need that in place if you're going to do roofing.
Yeah, no, that's what my father-in-law's going to have to be. Told him, I said, as long as you can, you can fly a drone and just watch me. Just tell me what to do. I'll if you teach me enough times, I will take off. Show me once or twice. I don't need a constant teaching.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey,
and then-
Donnie. Oh wait, never mind, Donnie. You're good.
Donnie's back.
Oh,
Yeah.
We got some beef in the chat, Donnie, but never mind. He's on your
Oh,
side.
Wait, who's Air Force?
Donnie's Air Force,
I was Air Force, yeah.
Who's Army?
not Donnie.
No, not me. Well, I don't see
Not
the
me
chat.
either.
Who's in there? Is
He's
that
like,
somebody
yeah,
on
I don't get paid that little.
What, was Israel in the service?
He was, I believe, for 8 years.
YouTube? So that must have been who I talked to then.
Yeah, you were
Oh.
talking with him.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question. I was going to ask that question. I was like, hold up. So,
Yeah,
fit this
he
career,
had asked
where
me
did you
about my
fit-
backstory and stuff. Yeah.
Where did you fit in military and all this? But then again,
I-
you have all the time there.
I believe he did a explosive diffusion.
Oh,
So-
Whoa.
ELD.
Hey, let's get him on the podcast too.
So,
FaceTime
So
him
he's
real quick.
perfect for handling all the crap that might happen. He has to diffuse a situation.
Yeah, yeah.
but so he probably knows that there's a video out there for guys that do that, defuse bombs. The EOD guy. He's like, how do you stay so calm? He's like, well, if I'm right, we're good. If I'm wrong, that's someone else's problem.
Exactly.
That's it.
Like
I mean, how
only
else
wrong
could you look at
once.
that? That's it. But yeah, no, that's cool. Service guys. That's awesome. You got Donnie.
Yo,
in service.
guys, I got about 10 minutes left. Just letting you guys know.
Yeah, no, do your
Alright.
thing. I know you're on baby duty, so we get that.
You got
Yeah.
anything that is going to be releasing for this year or within the next 2024 cycle or so?
20 prior to 2024.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, at all within any time this year or even next year.
Say within a year, I guess.
Yeah.
Next year maybe. This
Yeah.
year no. So up until the end of the year, we will not have any new releases apart from the 5-gallon bucket saver. But if somebody is looking for the 3.5-gallon bucket saver, the news is out. You can use the 5-gallon for the 3.5 gallons. So if you guys are
We
looking,
got that
for
now.
you've got it
Oh.
now. Yeah, it folds right over and is usable for that purpose too.
You're gonna have
There you
people
go
like
for your
Omar's
advertising
that
now.
Yeah.
Well, see now,
Yeah.
now we got to figure out this the link because apparently nobody signed
Yeah,
up.
nobody
for
used the affiliate.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
No, I
Use our
didn't either.
affiliate, Blue Collar 10. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, why don't we do this? The Blue Collar Society, right? So if you guys go to bucketsaver.net and use discount code Blue Collar, we will give you a discount, right, on the bucket saver. So go there and use Blue Collar as a gift code when you check out, and we will give you a discount. And then in addition to the discount that the customers receive, you guys will receive a partial reward. What is it? Royalty off each sale.
Well, that works.
Okay,
We'll
so
fund
royalties?
it. Yeah.
Wow, this is Shark Tank talk, man. What's going on here today?
But
Like,
yeah,
I like being called royalty. Tell me more. No.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, that works out.
Yeah,
we
that's
can
awesome.
stop paying for the podcast with our wallets, hopefully.
Yeah, no, sponsored by our wallets.
But
100% sponsored by us. You know, we're the ones pouring money into this thing. Hopefully, it pans out. But it allows us to meet cool people.
Yeah.
You know?
so
So, but
Well-
other than that,
but don't purchase right this
You got-
second. I'm writing Israel to make that coupon code, but it should be active.
he's like, don't do it.
Israel's in the chat. He's like,
It's not live yet.
Yeah, in
he's
30
watching the
minutes. it
stream.
will
He's
be.
like, I gotta work now.
Well, once people if they watch this podcast to the fullest, you'll know if they actually watch the podcast because they'll be using the code.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, now
Yeah.
we're gonna know.
Yeah, fill us in on those analytics when you guys get them, please.
Yeah, it's like there's one guy that used it. He watched the whole podcast. One guy. Probably.
All right, that's the affiliate link.
Exactly.
Apparently, it's up. Just like that, dang, Israel's on it.
God damn.
Man, that dude is the real deal. Okay.
He said that's the affiliate link. I don't know if he sent a link in the chat. YouTube might not push it through. That's just a moderation
Yeah.
thing.
He's like your his Alex.
Yeah,
Well, he can send it through what, Instagram?
Instagram, or we'll reach out to him at some point. We'll go.
Yeah, we'll reach
Well,
out to
we'll
him.
we'll definitely be posting it to our stories and all of that. So
Well, yeah.
So
Yeah.
You know,
I'm trying to
we
think.
use if you don't see our well, my account at least, and Donnie's, we're pretty active as far as like Instagram and posting videos and doing reels and stuff. So and we do it for fun. I mean, at least I do it for fun. I thought it was cool.
Oh, here, the affiliate link. Here, so this could make it easier for everybody. If you go to bucketsaver.go, oh, let me see here 1 second. On your affiliate link, is it short enough that you can read it off, Jeremiah? Or
bucketsaver.goathpro.com.
How's that?
Is it a private chat? I don't even see anything.
I don't see it.
I just got a notification. on my
Oh,
phone.
I think that's where you can create your affiliate link. I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you join.
Oh,
and then you
okay.
create
We'll sort it out later. The logistics on that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but
Yeah,
I'm trying to
that's
think.
cool.
Now he's got me thinking as far as the liner material itself or the TFE, right? Or like
TFE.
what tools do we have? Can we line? For example, actually a margin trowel wouldn't be too bad either. Like even if you don't
Actually,
get the sides, just the top
ooh.
and the bottom.
No.
So
Wedges.
oh,
The wedges for the tiles, if they could be coated on that, because that's something that you're always shoving in between the tiles, you're going to get thin set on them. But if you can get something that you don't have to throw them out or give them an acid bath every time.
don't listen to
That
him,
would
Paul.
be huge.
Don't do the wedges. Do the spin tops. Do the spin
No.
Do the
tops.
clips, not the wedges. Do the clips. The clips always get
Break the
stuck.
clip off.
I will tell you this. I don't
Nah.
know. So Never Wet. I'm not even sure if that's PTFE because I know PTFE is like a very like chemical substance and very difficult to work with. It's similar to polyurea that they use for truck beds. So I don't think it could just be applied from a spray can. To be honest, so I Never Wet uses a different product that's supposed to be almost as good. I believe. Like, don't quote me on this, but as far, I think it would have to be basically produced in a factory setting. So it's not. You can buy Never Wet in a can, and it will serve pretty much the same purpose. I don't know how long it will last and how easily it rubs off.
Yeah, but that's
So there's
something
that.
that's something that we constantly use, and you
Wedges.
start with a 1/16 horseshoe that eventually becomes an eighth if you don't clean it.
Yeah.
And over time, you're sitting there with a razor blade. Okay, I need this last horseshoe to finish this job.
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah.
bits
No, I
of
hear
it.
you.
So that's another one that would be interesting to see if it can stay cleaner.
You guys use the plastic with the yellow wedges, right? That go into it and it just snaps in the center. Or-
They did. Oh my
I
god.
do know
wedges.
Spin Doctor. I do know Spin Doctor.
Yes, I love Spin Doctors. I love their tops. I can't get their bases anymore where I'm at, so I use the Ruby bases because they work the same, but
Yeah.
they're much better. The Spin Doctor tops are way better than the Ruby tops. But I love the Spin tops. Omar can't stand them, and I can't stand wedges. The whole time I was there, I was cussing this
Another
thing
problem
out.
I had with Spin Doctor tops is if it does break, you have a little piece of metal sticking up between the tiles.
You mean, oh, the plastic?
The piece that goes under the tile and spins under.
Oh,
to
no. Yeah, I don't like those either. These are just like a regular. Do I have one up here?
Oh, you're talking
It's just
about the. I know what you're talking about.
The reusable
yeah.
ones.
It's like a
The
little
reusable
metal.
ones, yeah,
I'm
almost like a
talking about the
bar.
reusable ones. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I don't.
no,
I don't
no.
use those.
Okay.
No, the ones we use are breakaways. We kick them out, and then
Gotcha. Yeah, the reusable ones are. Yeah, they're a no go for sure.
I had that issue too. One
Those
broke,
scare
and
me.
You said you got the metal that you
Yeah.
got to sit there with a pair of needle nose, and hopefully it breaks off without
yeah,
damaging the tile.
I do not recommend the reusable for sure.
It's an Amazon thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get them at Lowe's and Home Depot too, since
Now they
Harris
do.
should
They
know.
weren't
He's
for a while.
he's
They did.
advertising.
Yeah.
He's letting everybody know that he gets a free parking spot up front at Lowe's.
Hey, I get free parking
Man.
spots up at.
Yeah, with your shirt, your Lowe's MVP shirt.
Oh shit! Wait a second.
I get to park next to the handicap spot. No.
Customer of the month.
Most
Always
valuable
follow my-
plumber.
You can always find them in the back, in the hidden section of tools.
The back aisle. That's my oof. You know I love that section, bro.
Yeah, so that's cool.
How many
I gotta
views do
look-
you guys get on your podcast? Do you know? Like,
We
How many views?
we get more people watching on YouTube by a small margin. It honestly depends who we have on. Like when we had Chase on, I think not much. I think it's like 2,000 views, or it might have been 3. Our Instagram, we're still building the Instagram up. We're kind of just building this nest egg, and then when someone finds us, they have enough content to kind of run down the rabbit hole. So as far as the podcast goes, we're still growing, but we are reaching a decent amount of people actually. So
We are currently at 33 subscribers.
Solid.
Solid.
And
like oh look,
yeah,
my
thanks
mom
to all
wants to-
33 of you. Well, actually 30 because the other 3, well, sorry, 29. Views, I see 64 on one episode with
Chase probably had the most.
Chase.
Yeah.
Chase's episode had 64 views.
Or Wendy's episode, just because of his following.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for that's what I'm looking for, because I would have thought that would have been the one that had the most views, but I don't see it here for some reason.
And you did the whole YouTube thing for yourself with the whole fitness stuff. What kind of tips would you have as far as going the YouTube route with that stuff?
Oh, it's same. I would take what's his name, Mr. Beast's advice is like literally. I literally did exactly what he did to get to my subscriber count. Is I focused a lot on analytics, and so YouTube has this amazing thing where you can see where retention drops and which parts of the video are most watched. Like, okay, people
yeah.
reminded and watch this part. And then when we start
Love
getting
that
into
feature.
this area, people just clicked off the video. It's like, what made them click off the video? You literally just zoom in to that portion. You're like, what turned them off? Like, what was I that boring? Or like, what went on over there, right? And so you look at it and you basically figure out what keeps attention, and then you cut out all the fluff in between that doesn't keep attention. And then every time you get a better thumbnail is like 30% of the work, probably like 50% of the work is a thumbnail. Make sure you have a thumbnail that people really like, a catchy title, because you can put a title like "Me Talking with Bucket Saver," or you could say like like you can make it sound more exciting. And so the title and the thumbnail is 50% of the work, because that's what gets people to click on the video. Once they click on the video, what makes them stay is the actual content. And for that, I used previous videos to analyze where my retention was highest. And I cut out every single part of the video where I dropped off retention and try to focus on the things that kept the audience's attention. And that's how you start building up, because people are engaged the entire video and they're like, I want to see more of this. I felt like there should have been more. And they start subscribing so they can see future videos. But that I would definitely follow that advice for growing a YouTube audience. That's the way I did mine. And it was pretty successful. Yeah.
I feel like analytics
to decide.
Go ahead, Donnie, go ahead.
to decide like how long your content should be?
No, I've had both short-term content and long-term content. I mean, Joe Rogan has our podcast. People stay in
Yeah,
tune with
yeah.
that. So it doesn't really matter how long your content is. As long as everyone's engaged and listening, that's really all that matters.
Right.
So I don't know how that compares to Instagram analytics and whatnot, but I find analytics so like I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like just hard to figure out because like the videos and reels that like take off for me have always been like, why the fuck was it that video? Like, what the hell? Like, it's always happens that way. Every time there's a video that takes off, I'm like, damn, what the hell? What did I do there? And I can't figure it out. Why is it that these videos are taking off the way they are? But I don't know. I guess it's hard to figure out because they're all so different.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
was actually he was on a Flagrant show with Andrew Schultz, and Andrew Schultz was like, okay, so you obviously mastered YouTube. You're the most subscribed. You make millions of dollars off of it. Can you describe to me the perfect video? Like, what is the perfect ideal video that people will subscribe to? That like the ideal video. And
Yeah.
Mr. Beast is like, there isn't one. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, you can make a video on any topic and make it so engaging, everyone will watch it. It could be a funny video, exciting video. It could be a video about law. It could be a video about anything. He's like, it doesn't matter what the content is, it's the presentation. And so what you need to figure out is how you present it to keep people engaged. And there's like different tickers that keep people engaged. They could be engaged because it's funny. They could be engaged because it's intriguing. They could be engaged because it's mysterious. They can be engaged because the energy of the person presenting is catchy and they want to emulate that. And they have like mirror neurons firing. Like, I want to be like this guy. And so they're engaged because that's there. Sometimes it's like funky and weird behavior that takes off. So there's certain like universal things that people respond to. And you have to present it that basically makes them feel a certain way. And so that you have to engineer. And it could be any topic. And Jimmy, right? I think Mr. Beast's name is Jimmy. He was like, yeah, there isn't one that you just the ideal, because there's so many areas, spheres of human experience, and you can touch on any one of them to go viral as long as you do it well, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's a great
So-
podcast
Well-
too, by the way.
I guess trying to like
Guys, really quick, man.
Yes.
I passed my time, man. I got
Yep. So we're about to get into that. So we're kind of gonna like go
Peace
back
out.
in. See you, Harry. Good
Good to meet you,
Paul,
Paul.
tell us-
Good talking, man.
Likewise, man. Yeah, you got my info. We can stay in touch.
I will be hitting you up, man, for sure.
Sounds good. Thanks, man. Later.
All right, guys. Good night. Later.
All right, Paul. So tell us a little bit about I guess where we can find you, where we can find your product. We are getting to that point where we're starting to wrap up. So let's just see what give us a closeout. Where can people find you?
You can find me on bucketsaver.net. I do recommend getting Fond affiliate link with Blue Collar Society. I'm guessing you guys are going to put it somewhere in the comments for purchasing the Bucket Saver. So go ahead and click their link and support their podcast by buying through them. You guys will be supporting this podcast and the guys and the content they put out. But yeah, bucketsaver.net is where you can find me. We're also on Instagram. I believe we're on Facebook too. Instagram is more, I think we've got more growth there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We are out of stock. Do keep that in mind. But at the same time, we are waiting for new inventory to come in. And by buying it, you guys are supporting us buying more inventory on the back end so that we can service more people and get this product out there for better construction experience for everybody involved.
Okay.
Good deal.
Well, thank you, Paul, for coming on the podcast. It was great talking to you. You got a good product going on here, and it's good to know that you got more things coming in the future. We all, I think, all except Harry. Harry's the only one that doesn't have a bucket saver yet.
Yeah.
Oh. So we all use your product, and it's kind of good to be able to I guess talk to the brains behind the operation here.
It was very nice talking and meeting you guys all as well. Very appreciative of the opportunity, and you guys got a great thing going. And I think this podcast will start growing too.
Thank
Appreciate
you. Well,
Yeah,
thank you,
appreciate
everybody
you.
that's Joining the podcast. We are going to close out for the night. So y'all have a good one.
See you.
Bye-bye.
All right.